And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Late Night Podcast. You know, I say we're live, but I can't lie. I am not very alive right now. I'm exhausted. Uh, I was in Dallas literally hours ago. So it's been a whirlwind weekend. But I manned up. Sometimes you have to push through for big shows, and this is Kobe's last game against the Celtics. And we technically had 3 days off before this, so I should be rested. So here I am, Harrison. Take the rest of the show. I'm going to pull a Brian Windhorst and just sleep the whole time.
I would really prefer that you not do that, given my dearth of one-man podcast hosting experience. But I'm probably close to as tired as you are. It's the end of the season, and I think we need to be put on a minutes limit at this point. We just don't want to have an injury that's going to affect us going into next year. Because unlike Kobe, we aren't retiring at the end of this.
And actually, like Kobe, I have tingling sensations in my left hand because how tired I am.
I need these velvety pipes to continue into next year.
Velvety pipes. Go inhale some more spider poison. All right, so the Lakers play the Celtics tonight and wind up losing 107-100. And Kobe plays. I thought this was the hardest Kobe played all season.
It was up there. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a specific game. Yeah, I don't know that I don't know that he's played harder than this.
He was legitimately stalking around the court. Had he made had he made a big shot down the stretch, you can bet your ass you would have seen the Kobe I suck at doing that.
Yeah.
For the fans that are listening, it's the underbite thing. I just tried to do the underbite thing and failed miserably. So
I thought it was funny. His daughter, I don't know if you caught it or how many people caught it, but they flashed to her after he hit a big three down the stretch when they were trying to come back. And she did this sigh of relief, oh man, he finally made one. And it was just the funniest thing. I don't know. It felt like old Kobe, but at the same time, you could see kind of, that this is not the old Kobe. That was really descriptive, but you know what I mean.
Well, that's why you're paid the big bucks, Harrison. Your ability with the words.
Wait, I'm supposed to get paid?
Oh, crap. Oh. Anywho, that's awkward.
We can talk about this after the show.
But there was a stretch there with about 3 or so minutes to go in the third quarter, and Kobe, was definitely firing away. We'll say that. We'll put it that way. I tweeted that his shoot button got stuck, but he was firing away. He was trying to make anything happen that he possibly could, and it just wasn't going. And I would credit Byron if it wasn't for, it being Kobe's typical time where he subs out, with a couple minutes ago before quarter ends, so that you get a couple extra minutes between quarters of rest. But if there was any kind of adjustment going on right there, it was a smart move of Byron to bench Kobe because he was firing away, and in the process, the Lakers got stuck at 71 points for quite a little while. But yeah, I would say this was as hard as we've seen Kobe go in a basketball game this year. Now, chess or checkers or whatever, I don't know. He might have gone really hard there, flipped a couple tables and stuff.
Ping pong, people always talk about, he's pretty competitive at.
It was kind of crazy. There was a behind the what's the Lakers backstage Lakers?
Backstage Lakers, yeah.
There was a backstage Lakers, I think it was from last year. And it was a Christmas thing, and they were having a competition of who can throw a football and catch it with one hand.
That was Thanksgiving from, I believe, 2 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago. That was that was the Meeks year. That was that was 2 years ago with D'Antoni as the coach over Thanksgiving in Detroit.
You could see the dude is just insanely competitive and also a freak of athletically. He was out there if there's a clip out there, shout outs to Time Warner. If there's a clip out there and anybody from over there is listening, help us out. But he makes those grabs and it was incredible. And he's just a competitor. He's a competitor. And tonight you really saw that shine through more than I think we have at any point this season. It was fun to watch. It was, people kept on saying, or all year, a constant reprise has been vintage Kobe, vintage Kobe, vintage Kobe when he makes any damn move. But it's not vintage Kobe when he's barely laying up the ball at the bottom of the backboard. That's not, by the definition of the word.
Look at the scoreboard. It still counts, Anthony. Hater.
That's not vintage Kobe. Vintage Kobe dropped bombs on dudes' heads. This has not been vintage Kobe. But tonight, the way he was stalking around the court and the way you saw the intensity on the sidelines and stuff, that, to me, was more vintage Kobe than we've seen at any point this season. And that was really fun to watch. And I was actually legitimately bummed when he missed that three-pointer that would have pulled the Lakers to within 2. I actually both Jen and I let out a sigh of, oh, man, that would have been great.
Well, on Kobe's competitiveness, for one, Byron Scott is actually talking after the game about it right now, although he, of course, had to use it as he said that Kobe was dead serious the whole game. And he said that he doesn't think that the young players understand the magnitude of the rivalry. So there's that. But also, second note on his competitiveness, I thought it was interesting. The OC Register, I believe it was Bill Oram, but if it wasn't him, forgive me, whatever writer actually wrote this story, but it was stories from people around Orange County who had had experiences with Kobe over his career.
That was Serena.
Huh?
Serena.
No. This is different than that. It was from this weekend. But yeah, and so he, I guess he went to UCI at some point, and he was walking through their pool area after being escorted out of the gym by these two guys that worked there. And they said one of them, somehow Michael Phelps came up around the pool, and Kobe said that he had studied his methods and thought he could beat him in the pool. That's not a verbatim quote, but like the guys laughed like, ha ha ha, that's a funny joke. But like Kobe was dead serious.
Yeah,
according to them. So yeah, he's an insanely competitive guy, and he it's pretty clear he thinks he could beat anyone and anything.
Yeah, and actually, it's why he continues to play right now, and why historically great athletes tend to hold on a little bit longer than they should, and that's what's kind of gone on here. And yeah, this was the closest thing I would say to actual legitimate vintage Kobe. It just didn't work out. He didn't make the shots, which is also, unfortunately, some of vintage Kobe. The elsewhere in the game tonight, the kids actually showed out pretty well. You had Julius Randle go for 20 and 10. Clarkson goes for 17 points, 5 rebounds. And then D'Angelo Russell, like you were talking about before the game, played pretty well despite not shooting the ball very accurately, 4 of 14. But he does finish with 8 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. I like the point that you made. To go ahead and make
which wasn't great, but yeah,
but I think that's the first game this year where his turnover total was actually legitimately a little too high.
Yeah, I think that's got to be a high for him this season. I don't think he's had more than 6, but it just looked like he was getting a little bit too cavalier with the passes. He was just like trying to force stuff that wasn't there. It looked like this was, like you said, this was one of the few nights where he's had these turnovers, and it's been pretty much his fault, almost exclusively.
There was one pass that I thought went off Tarek Black's hands that Tarek should have had. It was a pocket bounce pass. That might not have bounced up as high as Tarek.
Oh, that was in like the first quarter, I think, right? Something
like that. I forget. It was pretty early on, but I mean, in football, it's kind of annoying when quarterbacks get the interception credit, or the bad type of credit that they wind up having to pay there. And in this case, it was the same kind of thing where I thought the ball it hit Black in the hands. And my rule is if the pass hits you in the hands, you better catch it. And he didn't. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have as big a problem with turnovers as many people do. And here's why is the type of turnovers Russell is having. And we've talked about this before. The type of turnovers he was having tonight where he's trying to force the issue a little too much, thread the needle a little too thoroughly. that doesn't necessarily hurt you as much as a turnover, on the perimeter from a lazy pass that winds up in 2 points automatically going the other way, or a big who has the ball, a couple feet away from the basket who travels or lets the ball go off their hands out of bounds. Those turnovers cost you points, and I didn't think tonight the type of turnovers D'Angelo Russell was having actually really cost the Lakers any points directly, or if they did, it was pretty minimal.
Yeah, it looked like they were leading to stops more than baskets on the other end.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then, Clarkson, like I said, 17 points, 5 rebounds on 6 of 16 shooting. I do kind of like the chemistry that's kind of going there. And I thought what was interesting tonight, a major storyline that I don't think was talked about all too much on the timeline that I was paying attention to, were the guys who didn't get minutes, right? And they tended, and I try to emphasize chemistry here between Jordan Clarkson and D'Angelo Russell, the guys who are going to be around here long term. But you have all the guys who, quote unquote, isolated D'Angelo Russell. The two main guys being Lou Williams and that other guy who I prefer just not even to name. I'm pretty sick of him at this point. But they don't get any minutes whatsoever. And I think I don't know if it's the Lakers stepping in and saying, hey, we aren't having any of that. These guys are our future. Grow the heck up, or what. But I was happy to see that, Lou Williams and the other guy didn't get any time.
Just to be clear, the other guy, are you talking about Bass?
No, I hate you so much.
No, I'm serious.
Nick Young, he didn't get any minutes.
Oh, well, he hasn't been playing anyway.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, well, that's why I was confused, because Bass didn't play either, and I'm like, why does he hate Brandon Bass?
Why would I hate
Brandon Bass is Voldemort all of a sudden? You can't say his name?
Solid reference, but no, Brandon Bass is not he who shall not be named.
Okay, well, speaking of the guys not playing, Byron Scott did say after the game that he's planning on benching Lou Williams and Brandon Bass for the next couple games. He didn't mention Nick Young, I don't think, because, again, Nick Young has been swaggy DNP CD for the last couple weeks anyway, even before this Russell Young stuff came out.
No, he has a stomach flu.
Yeah, that's right. He's got. They should have just listed him like DNP leaked video tonight or something like that. Like
DNP Swaggy P.
DNP, please trade for this guy. But and so Byron said that he's going. But the other two guys that have actually been playing, Bass and Williams, Byron said that he's planning on benching them for at least the next couple games so that he can get a look at the young guys. So I guess better late than never. He said that he's keeping Huertas in the rotation, and this isn't a verbatim quote. This is Eric Pincus kind of summarizing what he said. So, take it with like Byron didn't say exactly these words, but he said something along the lines of he needs someone out there who knows what he's doing when asked why he's keeping Huertas in the rotation.
Well, technically, Huertas is a rookie, so he's sticking with the young guys even there, too.
He's simultaneously a rookie and a vet.
It's pretty much what's going to happen when that dude from Kansas comes out, right? When he gets drafted this year. He's going to be a rookie and a vet. Perry Ellis. His name slipped my mind.
I didn't even know if he was like an NBA pro. I have no idea about college basketball a lot of the time, if he's even an NBA prospect, but
he might actually retire. He might actually get like a 401k from Kansas at this point.
I mean, he's been there 20 years, I think. But
shouts to Tom and Scott if you're listening. Sorry, guys.
But yeah, so I think it was like we said, it's kind of, I guess, better late than never that he's going to really give the young guys a chance. And I sent out a tweet from the Silver Screen and Roll account before the fourth quarter saying that he was likely to bench the young guys. I wouldn't have been surprised if, his and Kobe's last game against Boston, if he really pushed those vets out there and tried to go for the win the way that he's really tried to in the past of the season. And he didn't do that. He left the young guys out there. So I think he does deserve some credit for that. It's later than most people would have liked, but he did show trust in them and let them finish out the game.
I would say I hope this is the case where I hope the Lakers actually stepped in and said, you know what, we want to send a message to these guys, to Lou Williams, to Swaggy P. Although I'm not sure what kind of message could actually be sent to Nick at this point. That I'm not.
Well, if they could send him a message on Twitter and then quickly delete it if they wanted to get their point across.
Wouldn't it be great? Like all the hullabaloo that was created by LeBron not following the Cavs, the Lakers unfollow Nick Young.
Look it up. Somebody watching this show, look it up right now. I want to see evidence of this, whether or not they are following each other after the game.
I just picture every time Nick Young sends and deletes a tweet, just the Lakers PR team like, Nick, come on. You can't. Nick! Gosh, people screen cap, you genius. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't get what he's doing with that. I guess maybe he's just trying to make it known out there. He really wants people to know that he still has beef with D'Angelo Russell, despite the kind of reports that he had accepted his apology and all that stuff.
Yeah, great idea, Swaggy. Alienate yourself
from
the franchise.
I don't even know what's going on there.
Good move. All right, I don't want to talk about that anymore, though. I did want to talk about what I found really interesting was, and by interesting, somewhat disappointing, whatever, but I was watching Kobe walk off the court in this game, and I was looking around at the guys that he was dapping, and when you consider the heights of this rivalry, when it was legit, when you had Hall of Famers pitted against Hall of Famers, and it was just a no-holds-barred fight, scratch, claw, kill if need be type of battle in the finals, and even regular season games got pretty intense. I believe there was a regular season game where Kobe and Rondo got into it, right? Or was that a playoff?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure.
Right. So, but anywho, I'm watching Kobe walk off the court, and he's dapping up Evan Turner and Kelly Olynyk and Marcus Smart, and maybe Smart turns out to be okay. Kelly Olynyk, whatever. His greatest contribution was dislocating Kevin Love's shoulder last playoffs, and then you kind of go down the line of these guys that Kobe is saying goodbye to as this rivalry comes to an end, or this chapter in the rivalry comes to an end. And I kind of felt like, man, I really wish this would have been really cool if it was Garnett and Pierce and Rondo and Ray Allen wishing this guy off into the sunset, or collectively wishing that chapter of the greatest rivalry, and you could argue American sport, off into the sunset. And instead we're left with that. And I was just kind of sitting there, man, this is, I tweeted out, I wish the rosters were less meh at the end of this rivalry.
They could have made it happen too. I don't know why. Like, the Kings are tanking. They benched Rondo. Just fly him, pay to fly him out. The Clippers are at home right now. Just have Paul Pierce come out tonight. I mean, he can even bring his wheelchair if he doesn't want to make that much of an effort. Kevin Garnett is, he's kind of playing for the Timberwolves, I believe. So that might be hard. But Ray Allen's retired. Just offer him a free golf weekend. Just bring him out. The Lakers could have put him all courtside.
I mean, Garnett's doing more coaching than playing at this point, I believe, right? He hasn't played very much this year.
Involved. I think he's still starting for them, but I haven't watched a Timberwolves game in quite a while. So,
yeah, I would. It's just, I don't know. Am I alone in that sentiment that it's like, gosh, this could be way better than it actually is. This vibe as these guys are walking off the court and Kobe is walking off the court, and credit to the Lakers fans who were there. It was really touching. Standing ovation as he walked, as the game ends and all that, and that's not going anywhere. But the guys that he was saying goodbye to and saying hello to as the game was just starting, it feels a little tainted, the sentiment.
It's kind of a bummer as a fan, but at the same time, they've basically rebuilt their team already from that era, and right. So I don't think that they regret not keeping those guys around just for a Kobe. But not that I'm saying that you're saying this, but they don't regret not keeping those guys around for a Kobe farewell tour. I think it almost emphasizes the contrast in between the way that the two franchises went about moving on from those eras. Except Ray Allen left as a free agent, but otherwise that big four, they got stuff for all of those guys. And and whereas the Lakers, they tried to trade Powell, didn't find any offer. Tried to trade Powell every year, didn't find any offers worth their liking. Let him leave for nothing. Dwight Howard left for nothing. Lamar left for basically nothing. That was a while ago, but basically nothing. Kobe's going to leave for basically nothing, other than a ton of profits on this farewell tour. But it's just the two franchises have went about this type of thing much differently. And really, the only guy on the Celtics that you could argue deserved that kind of farewell tour is Pierce. Because he would have been a Celtic for life if they hadn't traded him. He would have been kind of their Kobe.
Right. I remember the podcast right after they traded Paul Pierce, and Simmons was pretty downtrodden about, not having Pierce retire as a Celtic unless they do that, one-day contract thing or whatever they do. But yes,
that's a great offseason to mentor the young guys if he thinks he has another year left in him. They're kind of a pseudo contender. You would think he could talk himself into playing there.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of a waste of a roster spot if you've watched him play for the Clippers this year. And oh my God. That feels so good to say. It feels so good to say that Pierce has sucked, especially for the Clippers. But I did like the contrast between the two franchises, and to build that point up a little bit more, you have in the Lakers Celtics rivalry and how that's gone on. This is literally a brand new book. You can't even say it's the next chapter in the book when there is no Showtime lineage going on. I mean, Mitch Kupchak technically played for those Lakers, but really, who thinks of Mitch Kupchak the player, right? Jerry West.
I think Mitch Kupchak thinks of himself first when he thinks of the Showtime Lakers.
I would hope not. Jerry West isn't involved unless they bring him back, which would be great. It'd be really cool if they are able to bring him back.
Something tells me he's pretty happy with the Warriors.
Probably, and cool story, but on the backside there. But I will not go into that. That's a detour we do not need to get into. But Magic not involved. Kareem not involved. Kobe.
What do you mean? Magic subtweets don't count as being involved with the team?
Which account? The Celtics, like you said or you pointed out, Paul Pierce no longer there, right? Obviously, Danny Ainge is running them. But again, it's a similar situation.
The only guy left from those teams is Avery Bradley, as far as a player on the court.
Right, but he was playing a pretty minimal role by the time during the actual rivalry, and then and like I was going to say with Danny Ainge, it's very similar to the Mitch Kupchak situation. Danny Ainge had a larger role on the Celtics than Mitch Kupchak did, but really, again, most people right now, you say Danny Ainge, they say GM of the Celtics, not former shooting guard of the Celtics.
Yeah.
So you have that going on, and it's kind of cool to see not just a brand new chapter, but an entirely new book ready to be written. And it's because of the way the Lakers are currently rebuilding, and it's because of the way the Celtics have gone along with their rebuild. And I would make the argument that the way the two teams have been rebuilt, because you're going to have guys play against each other if they do stick out with the Lakers and the Celtics respectively, you have the possibility of these guys are going to have a 13-year-long relationship playing against each other. So by the time they get into their primes and everything, it's going to be legit if both teams are good at the same time.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, like you said, coming from the same draft class. You have to be the type of guy that Clarkson is, that can name every guard taken ahead of him. He said numerous times. You know that he wants to mix it up with Marcus Smart. And Randall, same thing. He's got to be I'm sure he took it personally, even though he skipped his Boston workout to do a photo shoot, I believe, because he didn't really want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they passed him, but I'm sure he still took it as a slight that they passed him over anyway. Guys like professional athletes, they can work themselves up over that kind of thing, regardless of if they wanted to go there or not. And then you have, you have Russell, so like similar age, young guy. And then this year, if the Lakers keep their pick, Boston's probably going to have a top 5 pick as well. And so then you have 2 more guys coming from the same draft class that are going to be, one of them's going to be saying, oh, the Lakers passed me over for this guy, or the Celtics passed me over for this guy, depending on which team selects first and depending on what type of player it is. But you could get a lot of guys that are similar ages. And while Boston's better right now because they have a lot of veterans and they have better coaching, the Lakers could work themselves up to a similar level within the next couple of years, and that could be a really entertaining rivalry again with all new players.
Very easily. And while Simmons would say that the Celtics are in on every single free agent who's ever lived and trade target who's ever lived, the Lakers might potentially get a lot better really quickly. And if that does happen and you have the seeds that have been planted with the kids who are already there, this could be a really fun rivalry that stretches for a really long time, so long as both teams handle their business properly. And personally, as somebody who I always say, this is one of my mottos that I go through life is, without change, progress is impossible. And in this, you're seeing a major dynamic change, but without change, progress is impossible. And we could shift into a brand new book of this rivalry. All the Game of Thrones fans out there, what book are we on? Book 7 or book 5 or whatever we are. We could be heading into that situation. We just, don't have red weddings to worry about.
Well, you would hope. I mean, D'Angelo and Nick Young are kind of pissed at each other. I guess Nick Young is probably more pissed at D'Angelo Russell. I would not imagine that Russell is very upset with Young, but you know what I mean.
I'm not going to bring up the April Fool's joke you played on me in the DMs. I'm not going to.
Yeah, we'll stay away from that one.
All right, so that does it for tonight's show. Like I said, the Lakers wind up falling.
Well, not quite, actually. I would be curious for your take on one of Byron Scott's halftime comments to the players. I guess in the locker room during halftime, I don't know if you saw this flash across your feed, but my job, as you know, is to kind of pay attention to that stuff as we're doing the show. And per Michael Pena of Bleacher Report, Byron Scott said that at halftime, he asked his players if any of them have ever been in a fist fight. I guess so. I would take it that means that he had an issue with their effort, and I don't know. It just seems kind of like a poor analogy right now.
Considering what could have happened.
Yeah, the Lakers were pretty close to an actual fist fight by all accounts. And
all right, so here's the thing. I somehow missed the point, or I missed making the point. But when you said Byron just randomly throws the kids on the bus while talking about a completely different situation and how Kobe was competitive about this situation, about this rivalry, all that crap, and then you bring this up again, you called him the Coach Carter. He's a fake Coach Carter. He's
a really good parody of Coach Carter.
Right. And have you ever been in a fist fight? Like, great, Byron, thank you. The fight analogy.
I'm telling you, I'm waiting. We're 2 games away from him locking them out of the practice facility until they get their grades up.
It's so bad. Have you ever been in a fist fight? Harrison, have you ever been in a fist fight?
No.
Well, our podcasts suck, and you've probably been in a fist fight. I know I've been in a fist fight. So if
fine. I'm not naming who or when, but fine. I'll go along with your premise. What's your point?
Well, the premise is, look, getting into a fight is a sign of immaturity. It's not a sign of toughness. It's not like you didn't want to admit to getting into a fight. I'm not particularly proud of having been in fights before. That's not something I look back on and say, like, they made me the man I am right now. That's not the case at all, Byron.
Yeah, you got to wonder what type, like, why you would get into a fist fight and then decide that, you know what, that impacted my life. That's something that I needed. I need to impart this wisdom to a group of young players.
All right. Chances Byron was in a fight before the game. And he
saw Danny Ainge in the hallway eating Chipotle and was just like, not in Staples Center.
He slaps the Chipotle out of Danny Ainge's hands and they get down.
He said that he was bragging before the game that he once denied Cedric Maxwell an interview with him while he was Nets coach because of the Lakers-Celtics rivalry, to emphasize how he really hated those guys.
Oh, man. Unbelievable.
I don't know why he decided, like, today was, like, I'm going to remind everyone of my connection to the Showtime Lakers day, and I don't know.
Well, it's the only reason
it's
he
the Celtics,
continues to be employed.
I don't know why he decided to take that specific angle.
I mean, that's the only angle he has. It's the only reason he remains employed by the Lakers and ever was hired by the Lakers was because of his connection to the Showtime era. So, yeah.
They gave him like 7 interviews. You got to think there were a couple more reasons.
I mean, why else would they give so many interviews to a guy? Like, how many? The most interviews I've ever gone through, and I went through the interviews with I won't talk about which job it was with, but it was like, I think it was 3 interviews. That was twice as many interviews they went with through the guy. It was
can you imagine getting asked back for a 7th job interview for a job? Like, what job would that have to be? Like, Lakers head coach would be one.
Government. It would have to be like president of the United States. I would imagine it's more than that. But
just when you think the candidate field couldn't get worse, you enter.
You ain't seen nothing, Donald Trump. All right. Well, yeah. My takeaway from Byron sending that fighting message is just it's more of the bravado. It's more of the machismo that makes him a terrible coach and probably makes him a terrible mentor for anybody to learn from in this day and age, where you are not defined by any kind of physicality. We have moved past the days of ground machismo. We are in a place, or we're heading towards a place, hopefully one day, where having some kind of touch with a sensitive side to you isn't seen as a weakness. And Byron, being the dinosaur he is, continuing to bring that up is just nails into the coffin of his entire era of thinking.
But as we're wrapping up here, I think Ryan Kellepire might have said it best right after the comments came out, where he just said, if you listen to Byron, you'd think that as long as the Lakers tried hard, they could beat the Warriors in a 7-game series. Like, that's their only issue, is that they don't try hard. Because every time they lose, it was a lack of effort. It was a lack of it's not that we're worse than these teams. It's they didn't try, and you got to think that. I believe we're 70 games into the season. Mm-hmm. No, further than there's 6 games left, so 76 games in. Trust the process, but 76 games into the season, that effort criticism has to be getting a little old.
You would think, and if he wants to stick with the fighting analogy, look, Byron Scott is 6'4", is a professional athlete, all that good stuff. I don't care how hard I tried, I'd never beat him in a fight. That's never how that goes down. If I go to a local biker gang bar and try really, really hard, it's about the size of the fight and the dog and all that stuff, I'm probably going to wind up dead. So the lesson there is, don't get in that fight because you're a moron for doing so, Byron. Oh, man.
This took a dark turn at the end. Anthony, don't go to a biker bar. I know it's been a bad season, but it's going to be okay.
I live down the street from one. I'm going to go down there and pick a fight with somebody. Hey, buddy, Mr. Leatherface. I'll try real hard. All right.
I'm never prepared for how these end.
Neither am I. 6 more of these shows, if we're lucky.
If Anthony doesn't get in a fight with a biker for some reason.
Exactly. All right, so that does it for tonight's show. Before we go into any more topics, the Lakers again wind up losing 107-100 to the Boston Celtics in Kobe's last game against the Boston Celtics. That sucks to say, but I was really pulling for the Lakers to win this one. Kobe appeared to really want this one, so it kind of stinks to watch that transpire as it did.
This might have been his last good game.
Man, geez, that took a dark turn. Woo!
I mean, it's just like really every time he has one, there are 6 games left. It could be his last good one. You don't know.
Yeah, the Kamenetsky brothers tweeted out, after he had that dunk, like that might be one of the last couple dunks we ever see from Kobe. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go make another drink. All right,
he should just not dunk so that that's the case.
No, I don't want that to be his last dunk. It was a breakaway, and he barely got the ball over the rim.
No, it was against the Celtics.
Okay, sure.
Okay, fine. I mean, dunks on Gobert in the final game.
Thank you. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for.
Game winner.
Somebody just tie Gobert down to the ground. Like, just get Randall and the kids just beat the heck out of Randall.
Randall knocks him off balance, into the dunk.
Exactly. Perfect. Storybook ending.
Yeah.
What's funny is that after that happened, one would think Byron would finally give the Lakers credit for knowing what it means to be a Laker.
He'd probably run on the court celebrating.
Exactly.
In the second quarter.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening tonight. We will talk to you again. Gosh, 76 game into this business.
They play on Tuesday next against the Clippers. They play Clippers Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right. So we will talk to you again on Tuesday. We only have a handful of these games left. Thank you everybody for sticking with us throughout the season. Thank you everybody for listening right now. Thanks for all the subscribers on iTunes. Spread the word. Say a couple idiots who talk about the Lakers almost on a nightly basis, and we'll try to find something clever to do as we head into the offseason as well. So thank you, Harrison, for joining us tonight.
All right. Thanks, Anthony.